loudspeaker, and this is a featured review of the Perfect8 loudspeaker, the Cube. The Cube fits in at the low end of the range for Perfect8. Top model is the Force, which is a giant line array, 2 large mid-range tweeter panels, 1 minimal woofer per side. You can expand it up to 2 per side or 3 per side. Next model down is the Point source. Uses a woofer module from the Force. And then we have the Cube. The Cube uses a single low frequency driver, which is omni. It fires both left and right in phase. 10-inch drivers on the woofer unit. I requested a pair of them for review for Listening Studio One. Perfect8. You've seen them at shows. You've seen them on video. Perfect8. These are bespoke audio products. They're made to order. They are made of glass. Glass. Glass for a loudspeaker? Have you ever tapped on a piece of glass? It rings like a bell. Well, no ringing here. They have a super silent glass incorporated into each of their 3 designs. It's made in Germany, has a little sandwich material between each piece of glass that effectively deadens the sound. The cabinet resonances in all of their speakers is less than composite, less than MDF. Glass is beautiful to look at and behold. When I first set these up in our listening room, I had a couple audio enthusiasts over. They had seen pictures online. When they walked into the room, they were taken back. They looked like little jewels. Gold finished tweeter. Side firing mid-ranges, side firing woofer modules. It's a 3-way design. The tweeter fires forward. The mid-range fires right, another mid-range fires left. They're 5-inch drivers, 4-inch surface area. Crosses over to the woofer module at about 100 Hertz, but you adjust that. In fact, all aspects of the low frequency unit is adjustable via your laptop. You hook a USB cable into the back of the woofer, you get a readout. You can either use a microphone in your room to test and see the frequencies and how they're combining together, or you set them by ear. We have the woofer modules set in phase with the tweeter and mid-range unit. We've backed it off with the current amplifier to -23, which is just an arbitrary number in their 0 to 100 scale that you'll see when you set the system up. We're currently using the Audio Note GACU-ON amplifier. We've been using the Audio Net Max. Now the system here today consists of the Kronos limited edition turntable, the Black Beauty tone arm, the Triangle Art Zeus cartridge, and a Motif phono stage. Cabling is by Kabbalah Sasna, Terra Labs, Klein, Purist Audio Design, Crystal Cable, and Audio Note. The speaker is a 3-way design with an outboard crossover box for the mid-range and tweeter. The output of your power amplifier goes into the input of the crossover box, which has an ultra-high pass and a higher pass output. One for the tweeter, another output for the mid-range. The woofer is connected directly from your line stage via balanced outputs, which also works with jumpers, by the way. We did test it that way. So if you have single-ended or RCA outputs as a spare set on your line stage out or your preamplifier out, the system works seamlessly. And that is wired into the back of the woofer unit, which has a Hypex drive unit. So you have to have your woofers plugged in to your AC. In this case, we're using N-Klein power cables, which we found to be a great match. We received for test for our next system, the Audio Note Gaku On, several weeks ago, and I was a little skeptical of how they were going to perform with the Perfect 8s. 45 watts versus 400 watts per channel. It's a big difference. Perfect match. So part one of the overview of this loudspeaker. It is versatile. 45 watts, single-ended, parallel single-ended power is more than ample to get the speaker up to near concert-like level, as is 400 watts per channel with the Audio Net Max amplifier. Now, a key part of the system are the still point ultras. When we place the still points on top of the stands, the stage seemed to expand, the articulation became a little bit more well-defined. So I urge you, on all of your loudspeakers, check out using the still point ultras. And they're the bigger ones, as you can see. They're about this big around. We first set the system up last year. The team from Sweden came in. At the time, we had another preamp in the system and another pair of power amps in the system. And it wasn't until a day or two later that we put the Audio Net line stage and the Max power amps in the system. And that first day we did that, it was as if we took the walls of the room and utterly removed them. I never heard anything like it. I was hearing spatial cues, sound, and ambience coming from all over the room. Specifically positioned each pocket of sound in its own compartment. It was as if I had a 7.1 system for my regular 2-channel recordings. I own MBL 101E Mark II loudspeakers. I enjoy that effect of sound coming from everywhere in my room. I enjoy having my room pressurized with sound. It fools me into think I'm listening to a concert. Well, these little speakers were doing the same thing, except they were doing it better. They were doing it where the sounds all were individualized. With the MBLs, the sound is kind of cut from the same cloth. But we'll talk more about this as we get into the sonic attribute of the cubes. Now, before we took delivery for review, I requested a pair of the Force or the Point. And I was a little disappointed when Jonas suggested I review the cubes. And I'm glad he did. Because the cube, to me, is delivering more music in my room than any other loudspeaker. You will be able to hear the spatial effects of the cube. The Cube by Perfect8, an introduction, onward to the listening session. Here we go.